Calvin Castine for Hometown Cable, and we're at the first ever British invasion dinner. And we're in the Northern Tier, and this is the first time something has happened up here in the Northern Tier. And it's very appropriate that the person we start with is someone who represents the Northern Tier at the county level, but she's not here representing the county tonight, though, are you?
No,
Celine Paquette?
Good evening, Calvin.
Are you the keynote speaker? Is that
I wouldn't consider myself the keynote speaker. I'll just highlight some things here, that's all. I don't think anyone wants to hear about war strategy and see maps of where the fleets were tonight.
Well, actually, I checked my, today is September 7th, and I checked my Pliny Moore notes, and according to his journal, the Battle of Beekmantown took place on September 6th. So the British Army at this point had already come and was on its way to the Battle of Plattsburgh on this September 7th.
Absolutely.
As you I'm sure know, that according to Pliny's journal, the British started arriving around the end of August, on August 28th, and there's almost 4 weeks by the time they lost the battle and headed back out of town. So
that's right.
I and I'm sure you have been a long advocate of getting this Battle of Plattsburgh celebration going up here in the North Country. So I'm sure this is something you've been looking forward to.
Oh, very much so. I don't think people realize just how important this Northern Tier was during the war. Of course, being on the border and the lake. So we had the fleet, we had the land troops, and Champlain figured very, very prominently in all of this. There were encampments. In fact, I grew up in an old stone farmhouse where the troops were camped. There's now a historic marker right there. So it means a lot to me, and I'm glad we're bringing it to the attention of the public, and it gets the attention it deserves.
Yeah, the officers were at Dewey Tavern, but the troops were all around, including Prospect Hill, where that farmhouse you're talking about.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And they were here, and they weren't exactly guests, but they made their presence known.
They certainly did, as you read about the encampments, and of course Pliny Moore, the stone house I'm talking about, was built by Pliny Moore, and he had the largest house in town, so he was host to all the British and American generals and to a lot of other people. He played a very, very large role in all of this. And of course his home was just at the corner of Oak and Elm Street, I guess, and the Stone House was up Prospect, and Dewey Tavern was at the other end of Prospect, so you can see how this could all happen here on the hill. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Alan Everest, when he wrote about Dewey Tavern, called it the most historic building still standing in Clinton County, and I think that's been lost on a lot of people over the years.
That's right, yeah. It is very historic, and I read about the Dewey family there and all the turmoil they went through with, sometimes they were in danger. And they almost fled several times. They were at a very strategic place there.
Yes, and even though they were very hospitable, they were still entertaining the enemy, and they let the enemy know that they were the enemy.
Yes, that's what's surprising, but you have to think back to 1812, 1813, 1814. People were not very mobile then, and these troops were right here in our midst, and we entertained them, or they took over cattle, they took the vegetable gardens, they took whatever they could, and we couldn't say too much, and we tried to make life as pleasant as possible. So
yeah, we had to survive, and
that's right.
And we knew that we were just a stopping point, and that
we had no choice. Mm-hmm.
All right, so you do have a part in the program. You're going to be talking today about.
I will make a few mentions of the Battle of Plattsburgh and this area. That's what I will mention.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We're looking forward to that. And,
thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, we have cornered a very, very busy Frank Shambo, the president of the Northern Tier Chamber of Commerce. This is a Northern Tier Chamber of Commerce function, and what precipitated this, Frank? Whose idea was all this?
Well, actually, we're going to give credit to Pam DeMoore and Bill Borkowski.
Okay.
They're the ones that thought up this idea.
And it looks like it's highly successful. I'm surprised at the number of people from outside of the Northern Tier who have shown up, and the majority of them, unlike me, are in costume.
Well, same here. Initially, the ticket sales were we're kind of slow, but in the last 2 weeks, the tickets just took off. But there was a number of people that got behind it. So there's a lot of people from the Battle of Plattsburgh committee here. They also got behind it, and obviously want to bring the Northern Tier region into their celebration.
Yes, I've felt right from the beginning that they were missing out by not including the Northern Tier, but it's a small committee and they're doing all they can, so I guess they need people like yourselves to get involved and do something like this.
And that's exactly the problem. I mean, nobody up here, there really hasn't been any organization up here that's been able to take on this event. And if it wasn't for the local historical society, along with ourselves, we probably wouldn't have been able to pull it off. We do need help. There's no question. But we're kind of hoping that this event will grow, and next year we hope to make it twice the size.
Well, if you make it even the same size, you'll be successful. This is a nice turnout.
Well, we're only using about 2/3 of the rink, so I figure, if we go all the way to the glass, then we ought to be able to put 400 people in here with no problem.
How big a crowd are you expecting tonight, Frank?
About 200.
That's to me, that's darn good. That's
for the first year.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely.
And just for the people who aren't from the Northern Tier, most of us in the Northern Tier are at least semi-aware of that the Battle of Plattsburgh actually didn't begin here, but wouldn't have happened if the troops and the boats hadn't come through here. This is, I referred to when I was talking to Celine Paquette, just a few notes from Pliny Moore's journal. And Pliny Moore, for those who don't know, was the founder of what was originally called the Mooresfield Grant, which is the village of Champlain and the entire town of Champlain. On August 28th, the British force came into Champlain, according to Moore's journal. August 29th, all peaceful except for one drunken Indian. September 4th, British Army, about 14,000, passed on to Chazy with 16 pieces of cannon. So they were here from the 28th through about the 4th. On September 6th, it was the Battle of Beekmantown. September 11th, in Moore's journal, it says Battle of the Fleets. McDonough took the ship, the brig, and 2 sloops. September 13th, the British Army passed in retreat, except one brigade remained in Champlain. And September 25th, the British Army left Champlain. So from August 28th to September 25th, the British were occupying Champlain.
Absolutely.
And if you look back and think about it, the last time ground forces invaded the United States of America, it happened right here on the ground.
Right here in Rouses Point. Absolutely.
Well, Dewey Tavern, and the ships came through Rouses Point, and
yep.
So this is historical, and it's very appropriate that this should be happening right here. This kickoff dinner should be happening here.
Absolutely. This is where they had their main feast before they marched on down and had those skirmishes that you just referred to.
Okay, maybe Judy can get some of the people. It's almost dinner time here. They're going to be served. Yes, they're starting to serve already.
Yep.
They're starting to serve right next to you there, Judy. What's on the menu, Frank?
Well, right now they're serving rabbit stew as an appetizer. For those people that don't want to eat rabbit stew, we have chicken stew.
Which tastes very similar to rabbit.
Which tastes very similar, but some people just can't get beyond the thought of eating a rabbit. So the main course will be pulled pork and venison with potatoes and steamed vegetables.
So you tried to stick to a menu that would have been appropriate for the British officers that would have been...
right.
The British officers had a dinner around this time before they went to Plattsburgh, right? They had a dinner up in this area. That's the reason for this British invasion dinner.
And it was quite an elegant dinner, from what I understand.
Yeah, they took all the food they wanted from the natives and,
there you go.
and
That's
enjoyed
right.
it.
Yep, that's right.
Well, Frank, I appreciate you taking time off. You've been running around here, and I'm sure you've got 1,000 other things you need to get done as you're working on the last moments of this event. But I want to congratulate the Chamber and yourself on a very successful event.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Frank, thanks.
Take care.
The ceremonies for tonight. Thank you all very much for coming. As you look around the room, I'm sure you can see that the people of this area have put forth a great deal of effort to make this place look great, to commemorate a very special event in American history. I'm sure you're all here because you are history buffs, right? Right? Well, that event that it commemorates is the last invasion of America, and the last occupation of America by foreign troops. It happened on September 2nd, 1814, when approximately 15,000 Canadian and British troops marched south from Canada, crossed the border into Champlain-Rouses Point on their way to Plattsburgh. A few days later, on September 11th, 1814, they took part in the Battle of Plattsburgh, which turned out to be a major victory for the Americans and a catalyst toward the signing of a peace treaty only 3 months later that would end the War of 1812. So next weekend, there are lots and lots of activities going on in Plattsburgh to commemorate that battle. In fact, there's activities going on all week long, and we encourage you to participate in them. But tonight is the British invasion dinner, and we encourage you to look at things from the British point of view. In fact, put yourself in their shoes. For 2 years, you've been living in the wilds of Canada, far from your homes and your loved ones, in a much more civilized country. You've endured tremendously cold winters, blistering hot summers, swarms of mosquitoes and black flies, and tremendous boredom as you've waited week after week after week for the order to invade. And now that order has finally come. And you have crossed the border, and you are now here in northern New York. Ahead of you lies Plattsburgh, which is guarded by only 2,000 troops. And not far from here, in the Richelieu River near an island called Île-aux-Noix, there is a British fleet being worked on at this moment. In fact, the finishing touches are being put on the Confiance, the largest ship ever to sail on Lake Champlain. So things look good. Victory appears certain, spirits are high, and life is good. So tonight, thank you for coming, and we would ask you to help us reenact a celebration that may or may not have happened on that first night of the invasion. We ask you to clear your mind of all you know about world history after September 2nd, 1814. Pretend that you are these British and Canadian soldiers. So sit back and relax, enjoy the fine food, the plentiful alcohol, there'll be plenty of entertainment between courses to keep spirits lively, and of course there'll be lots of music and dancing to round out the evening. So enjoy yourselves tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the British Invasion Dinner, first annual. Oh, and of course the music will continue in just a moment during the appetizers. How many of you have already been served your appetizers? Most of you, okay, so the appetizer part won't take long. But during the appetizers, the Wakeman family, I believe, will be performing for you some more. And I just have one small announcement before I go. Quite often when there's a large group of soldiers and men congregating like this, it tends to attract, well, camp followers, I suppose is the word for it. So, women of suspect honor tend to make themselves known. So I encourage you to be on your guard against their feminine wiles. Yes. Although some men actually may enjoy their presence, men of distinguished birth, of course, will not. So if their attendance here becomes too repulsive, please let me know, and I will have them taken out and flogged. So, and now a little more music and appetizers, and we'll be back with some entertainment in just a minute. Thank you. Enjoy your appetizers. no introduction. Sir, if you'd please stand up. This is the Commander-in-Chief of all the British forces and the Commodore of the Government of Canada, Britain and Canada, Sir General George Prevost. And, of course, we must recognize the Navy as well. The head of the British Navy on Lake Champlain, Commodore George Downey. And now, ladies and gentlemen, my job is to entertain you and get a little life into this party. For tomorrow you fight and you may die, so you might as well enjoy yourselves tonight. So I will start out with a little bit of fire juggling. This is the warm-up part. The audience participation part comes in moments, so if you're going to leave, do it now. I know what you're thinking. First time I saw this, I was too impressed to clap as well. Sing the floor cement. Almost dropped it. One hand. Thank you. Right, last one, the big finish. That's not it. That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now, would you like to see some flaming club juggling? Would you like to see some flaming club juggling? Well, good. However, on an auspicious occasion such as this, merely juggling flaming torches really is not adequate. What I thought I would do, ladies and gentlemen, rather than juggling flaming torches, I will juggle flaming torches while walking on this very small rope. You don't seem to care at all. Perhaps you're missing one important point. While I'm standing on this rope, it will be suspended in the air while I walk on it. You see, I'm going to need is some volunteers from the audience. I'm going to need some about 10 strong soldiers or sailors to hold one end of the rope on it. Don't all raise your hands at once here. I'm going to need some volunteers.
This is John, the photographer. If you'd like your picture taken, you have a souvenir picture for $5. You'll put it on your table at the end of the night, 5 by 7. Okay, we'd like to.
Okay, you all think I'm kidding.
Hey, Calvin.
So I guess this man has his hands up right here. Yes, sir. That's great. Come on up here, sir. Thank you very much. Just come on up here, sir, and grab that blue rope. Sir, you've already volunteered. Everyone saw you. Grab that blue rope right over there, if you would. And sir, as you nod your head, why don't you nod it over there? Okay. You believe I've seen you play basketball. Come on up here and grab on there. Great. And yeah, anybody will be fine. This man with big shoulders, come on up here. That's great. Yeah, come up here. Yeah, you'll be fine too. This crutch with that, with 2 hands. If that thing moves, we're out of luck. Sir, this has never happened to me before, but I have too many volunteers. Can you believe that? All right, gentlemen, you will need to pull while I walk on the rope. Now I'm just going to practice for just a moment. So just pull, and then I'll get up there. Then after I get up there, I'm going to juggle flaming torches on the rope. Wouldn't that be exciting, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, here we go then. Just a little practice walk to see if these guys are physically and mentally competent. All right, gentlemen, you may pull a little bit. That's good. Okay. A little bit more. Good. There you go. All right, how you doing, gentlemen? It's not not extremely tight, but we'll go with it. Now remember, I'm just warming up. We aren't doing the torches just yet. And I'm a full 6 inches off the ground now. Come a little closer. Come a little higher.
And now. Work.
You're such a great audience, so here's what I'm going to do. Since most of you are military and I am a civilian, I thought I might try to impress you by dressing in a more military fashion. So here's what I plan on doing, ladies and gentlemen. I will take this Army uniform, place it here over the rope. And then as I walk on the rope, before I juggle the flaming torches, I will put on this entire uniform while standing on the rope. Wouldn't that be exciting, ladies and gentlemen? All right. There's my torches. There you go. So why don't you hold on to those? That's excellent. You hold on right there, and I will walk on the rope, and I will now put on the clothing. If there's anybody anywhere near any background music, now would be a good time. All right, gentlemen. Hold. Whatever you do, be very consistent. You're very quiet. I'm not going to crash to my death, you know.
What do you think?
I don't know if I've ever had it be this quiet before.
Exciting.
Doesn't help that my arms are sweaty and they don't go through the coat. That is the easy part.
You're not leaving the other pants on.
That'll make him
Wouldn't be fun if I did it right away, would it?
Wow. Got one leg on, all right. Gotta hold that crutch nice and sturdy there. Oh, he's done it! Woo! Almost!
Okay, I'm almost done. Ready? I don't have to start over on the pants, do I?
Yes!
How do you say yes?
Yes!
Okay, good, that's the right answer. No. All right, the pants. It's not official now until I zip. No, until I button, sorry. All right, we are almost ready now for the giant flames to appear. But first, my son and I have been working on a little trick that we might like to try for you, unless he chickens out. Son, are you in? Come on up here, let's try it. Gentlemen, rest for just a second. Ready? Come on up. Never mind, he chickened out. It's okay, I still love you. And now, flaming torches on the flat rope.
Don't worry, sir, it's fake fire.
Watch that top hat over there.
All right, hold on, gentlemen. Here we go. 2.
Woo! All right.
Thank you. I can feel the love in the room, and please, one more applause for my strong and masculine guest. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that you're famished after your long march from Montreal. So therefore, the wait staff will now begin to serve dinner. Actually, it's a buffet dinner. So we have a buffet table here and a buffet table here. I believe they are fully equipped and ready to go. The first people I'd like to have come up.
I can't see that. It's an awfully bright light. It's only 10 watts. Would you believe it's only 10 watts?
No, I can't.
All right, this is Kit Booth, and he is the president of the Battle of Plattsburgh
Commemoration Committee.
Commemoration Committee.
Yeah, I want to get that right.
Yeah, I just want to. And this time of the year, he's my number one email correspondent.
That's
it seems
right.
Like hardly a day goes by that I don't get something that's from Kit.
You bet. Yeah, we try and keep all you guys informed about what's going on. Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it seems every year, Kit, that the Battle of Plattsburgh just seems to get bigger and better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I say that with my eyes rolling back my head. It is. It's getting bigger and bigger all the time. This year we're going. Well, this is the 7th of September, and the Battle of Plattsburgh was on the 11th, and we're going through the 15th this year. So it's 8 days this year.
And if you got real technical about it, if you stick to a strict timeline, we'd probably be in Beekmantown right now because they were fighting in Beekmantown at this point. They'd already left Champlain.
They left Champlain by this date, and they were on their way down to Plattsburgh. Right, 15,000 of them.
And who knows, as we get closer and closer to that 1814 date, who knows how long this celebration might evolve into.
I would hope that it would go from the time the British got here to Rouses Point all the way through the Battle of Plattsburgh on the 11th and continue on through the following weekend, whenever that might happen to be. This year, the 11th happens to be on a Wednesday, so we're going to have a lot of things going on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday.
And we just have to say that for the folks watching this, I might run this in future years, but folks watching this in 2002, a year ago, we had a new meeting for September 11th, and it kind of throws a new wrinkle into this celebration for you.
We're tying that together this year.
Do we call it a celebration, Kit? Because
no, we never have. We've always called it a commemoration.
Commemoration,
right? And it's certainly commemorating two things now instead of just one.
Because it's kind of hard to celebrate a battle, no matter if
No, that's why we always said it isn't a celebration. It's fun. We have a lot of fun doing it, but it's not technically a celebration. It's a commemoration. We're trying to remember the Battle of Plattsburgh in 1814. But now this year, of course, we're remembering 2001 as well. And we're starting this year with a wonderful program at St. Peter's Church on the 11th at 8 o'clock. And I would certainly, you're not maybe going to air this before that, but people had better get there early because it's going to be full. The place holds 1,000 people, but I'm sure we're going to have an overflow crowd into the street. It's just going to be that big.
The chorus itself sounds like, was it 100-person
105 voices, and then there's a 35-piece wind ensemble. There's several soloists, and the fire lighting ceremony is going to be extremely important and I think emotional because the flame originates at Ground Zero in New York City, and it's being brought up here by relays from the various fire departments along the way. It will arrive here on Monday the 9th, but it will be brought down the aisle about probably 9:15 on the 11th of September by the fire chief of the city of Plattsburgh, followed by an honor guard from the city department, and then that flame will light the candles of about 48 volunteers from the various volunteer fire departments, city department, city police department, sheriff, state police, Salvation Army, and Red Cross. All of those people somehow or other were involved last year with the September 11th program. They will be there to take the light from the main candle and then light the tapers of all 1,000 people in the crowd. That's going to be a pretty moving experience, I think. And of course, the music is going to be wonderful. We're going to close with America the Beautiful, with the whole audience singing that, and I don't think there'll be a dry eye in the house.
Now, obviously, you can't coordinate all of this, and it's probably very nice when groups like the Northern Tier Chamber of Commerce step forward and offer to add a new event.
This is the first time this has happened, actually.
Really?
And yes, and the Northern Tier Chamber of Commerce stepped forward and said, we want to do something to coordinate with the Battle of Plattsburgh, and they decided to have it this night, which is good because next week is so crowded that this is a perfect night for it. And the crowd is absolutely amazing. There are 200 people here, and I'm just so delighted for them and for us that it happened this way.
Yes, already they're talking about next year, as I'm sure your committee is doing. You're probably talking about next year and the year after at this point.
Well, we're not talking about next year yet. We will. Let's get through this year first.
Yeah, but I'm sure when you line up people,
we would hope they would do this again next year. Yes, that this would become an institution. And it's so successful this year, I would think they'd probably want to try it again.
And would I be out of line if I suggested that maybe you want people from Chazy and Beekmantown and the points in between?
You're right on line, actually. That's exactly what we'd like to see happen next. We'd like to see it go down to Chazy and Beekmantown, because there were major battles in both those places along the way as the British moved on to the city of Plattsburgh, the village of Plattsburgh.
There was only so much that the meager fighters that we had on our side could do against 14,000 advancing troops.
It was almost guerrilla-like, because you got to picture this whole area being totally wooded. And the road to Plattsburgh was probably the width of a wagon trail. That was about it, maybe 10 feet wide, and dense woods on all sides. So it was sort of like guerrillas standing behind trees and shooting. That's what Aiken's volunteers did. Actually, they met the British on the way into the battle and fought them. And other units from Plattsburgh came out to meet them and to. They couldn't do much to them, but they sure gave them something to think about.
Yeah, just like a few mosquitoes.
That's right.
Yeah, because thank goodness there's things like Pliny Moore did have a journal, and Dr. Kellogg in the late 1800s went around and interviewed a lot of people, and it's nice for me because one of the people he talked to was a Mr. Moores, who lived at the place where my father lives right now. My father has a new house in that spot, but that's the same location where the old farmhouse has been burnt, and he talks about going out and showing some of the British soldiers a road, and they were mad at him because it was just a bunch of trees and stuff in the way. And you have to think back, and that's 200 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the way it was. That's what the road was.
I think the trees were felled in the way of the British to slow them down too.
Yes.
By our guys.
Yeah, we knew they were coming. I mean, it wasn't a secret that the British were coming.
Right. Oh no. That was well documented. They knew.
Yeah.
Even in those days when there wasn't much communication.
Okay. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, Kit, how should they do it?
Get a hold of me?
Well, if they want to get involved with this.
Oh, if they want to get involved, if they want to get involved as a volunteer, if this were airing before the weekend, Vicky DeMars at 5624,000 extension 165 is the chairman of our volunteers. She's doing a wonderful job of collecting. We need more than 100 volunteers to put this on. Oh yeah, we probably need 150 this year because of the parade. I mentioned the September 11th thing. The other big addition this year is a parade unlike any parade that you have seen recently. I think I go back to the 1940s when I used to see parades during and after the war where there were lots of military people. We're going to have considerable military people, and this is going to be a parade where almost everybody is marching. There isn't going to be a lot of vehicles in a row. We will have volunteer fire departments, but they will be marching with one vehicle. We will have the 89th New York Guard Band here. The centerpiece of the whole parade and of the weekend really is Her Majesty's Royal Marine Band. Now they're going to be here in white pith helmets, red tunics, blue trousers. They are sharp. It's a 45-piece military band, and they are going to march in the parade, and then at 7 o'clock on Saturday night they're going to do a concert down by McDonough Monument, I mean. And if, God forbid that it rains, we've made arrangements for them to be at the Plattsburgh High School auditorium. So we will have them undercover. They will play on Saturday night one way or another. And these are 45 wonderful musicians, and I'm sure everybody will just be delighted.
Now the parade is, for those watching in 2002, Saturday at 2?
It's going to be Saturday at 2. It's going to be Saturday at 2, starting at around the Elks Club, and it will go up Cumberland Avenue, across City Hall Place, and down Bridge Street to the railroad station. About a mile.
Okay.
We'll have 38 units at the moment.
All right. Frank Shambo's talking in the background, so we don't
Guess
want to...
we better shut up.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Ken.
You bet.
Self-history player tonight is Bill Burkowski, Vice President. His wife, Gail, is the Secretary. Over here at this table, we have Pamela DeMore. And back over there in the corner somewhere, we have Bev Lamberton. Bev, where are you? Okay. We had a poetry contest, and at this time I'd like to make some acknowledgments. Heather Taylor. Heather here? No? Okay.
Yes, I know.
How about Cody LeClaire? Kathy Monroe. Ian Dwyer. Charmaine Morgan. Come on up here, Charmaine. Can you read your poem?
It's called the Battle of Plattsburgh. Yeah, let's not cross the front. Tears falling down as I hide inside my home. It's called the Battle of Plattsburgh. Tears falling down as I hide inside my home. I hear the fire of guns and I'm all alone. Wanting him to open up the door with a smile upon his face. Wanting to know if he's okay, but he's gone out of trace. Looking out the window with the stars shining bright, hoping that he's here watching the same very light. The Battle of Plattsburgh isn't where I wish for him to be. I want him here at home. I want him here with me.
Thank you, Charmaine. Charmaine got a $50 savings bond. How about Elizabeth Beavis?
The Battle of Plattsburgh. Defiance versus Saratoga, the British versus us. The gruesome Battle of Plattsburgh, MacDonough was victorious. The War of 1812 was very hard to win. Against the British Captain Downey, chances were very thin. The cannons blasted loudly, then shooting here and there from the enormous flagships, which the soldiers couldn't bear. The Defiance might have been stronger, but Captain MacDonough had the brain. In the end, Downey died, and the British ships remained. Soon the British surrendered, and the Americans won at last. The War of 1812 was over, and the cannon stopped their blast. The valiant soldiers died, but they're still here in spirit. The sound of courage is in the air, and in the still of night we hear it. A festival is celebrated every single year to remember those who died, being brave and without fear. The heroes of the battle, whether they lived or they died, fought for their families and their country, celebrate their great American pride.
Thank you very much.
wins a $100 savings bond. Alicia Reed. Congratulations, Alicia.
In these depths had memories, past and present in time. In these depths, the wondering of people waiting for answers from their depths. In these depths, anchored and battle ready, McDonough, what did you see? In these depths, were you looking for an answer? And did you find it in Mount's polluted water and Kansas? And as for all of those who died, tell me, did you once think of the lives left behind? In these depths, your salty tears were the sacrifice. In these depths, you anchored amidst the stormy foe, finding the answer to invasion from these depths.
Very well done. Alicia wins a $50 savings bond, compliment of Evergreen Bank. Emily Spinner. Emily won first prize in the grade 9 through 12 category.
A reflection upon the death of Captain George Downey aboard the HMS Compliance. One shot, one perfectly lucky shot, that's all it took to put the Battle of Plattsburgh in a history book. The battle raged for many days upon the lake we call Champlain, yet not until the last day had one side made much gain. A mighty British captain at war in a strange land was killed behind the cannon he had chose to man. It was a cannonball from the American fleet that was the bearer of the captain's tragic defeat. Oh, it flew with such purpose, its aim was set and true. Alas, aboard the Confiance, no soul had a clue. Dead center and full force did that ball hit the cannon, and then it in turn struck down the poor beleaguered captain. One shot, one perfectly lucky shot, that's all it took. The sailors of the Confiance saw their captain's grave look. The force of the falling cannon gave but one small mark, but for Captain George Downey, his world had become dark. Death crept across his watch, forever keeping in time. The moment his spirit soared into the heavenly climb. Sadly, for king and country, he died rather in vain, for his loss in that last battle became America's great gain.
Emily wins a $100 savings bond. At this point in time, I'd like to introduce you all to Celine Paquette. She's our local county legislator. Thank you, Celine.
Thank you, Frank. Can you all hear me? Yes? Okay. Thank you for the opportunity and the pleasure to be sharing with you this evening. My very special thanks to the Northern Tier Chamber, organizers of the event, the people who had the idea, and then, more importantly, made it happen. So much that is important in American history took place in our Northern Tier, that it is very fitting and appropriate that we start having events to commemorate and to appreciate the people and places that made our area what it is today. Please join me in a round of applause for our chamber and the dinner organizers. Thank you. Before I say a few words about local places and people in 1814, there are two people I want to mention who have special involvement with the Battle of Plattsburgh. Attending the dinner tonight is a woman of great accomplishments. She is an encyclopedia of Clinton County history.
I don't know anyone who knows Clinton County history better than our county historian, Addie Shields. I like to tell a little story about Addie. It probably will embarrass her. A few years ago, I was looking at some old books in a trunk in the attic of my house. I came across a very solemn-looking little book with a black hardcover. Upon further examination, I realized it was a compilation of eulogy-type speeches given by members of Congress. In the front was a picture of a gentleman, and the page was covered with tissue paper. Then I found a biography, which is where I should have gone in the first place. This man was born in the town of Black Brook, I think in a hamlet called Hawkeye, I believe. He attended Plattsburgh Normal School, which is now Plattsburgh State University, went on to law school, was a member of the Board of Visitors, now called the College Council, of Plattsburgh Normal School, and eventually was elected to Congress. I checked with several people, even a faculty member at Plattsburgh State who was born and raised in Black Brook, and even Don Garrett, and he knows everything about Plattsburgh State. No one ever heard of this man. I called Addie. Had she ever heard of Wallace Pierce? Well, of course. And for the next 15 to 20 minutes, I heard about the congressman from Plattsburgh. And he died in 1941. She remembered his funeral, where he was born, where he lived, his parents, his family, his education, etc. That's an example of Addie's encyclopedic knowledge. Addie has a special connection with the Battle of September 11, 1814. Addie was born Addie Lawrence. Her great-great-great-grandfather, William Lawrence, was a dinner guest of the British at a meal on shore at Chazy Landing the night before the invasion. William Lawrence had built a dock there, and since it was the first and only dock on Lake Champlain at that time, it made sense for the British to stop there. There is more to add about William Lawrence. When the British were returning to Canada after their defeat, they again stopped at his home, and they took a pair of oxen. Immediately, William sent his son Preston, who was only 13 years old, to go after them and bring the oxen back. And he did that. Actually, it is believed that he probably found them alongside the road and did not wrestle them away from the British. Another person here tonight who long ago recognized the historic importance of the Battle of Plattsburgh is our Assemblyman, Chris Ortloff. When Plattsburgh Air Force Base closed, Chris had the vision to develop part of the old base where the stone barracks are located near the lake as a historical museum and educational facility so people would come to understand and appreciate the significance of the September 11th battle. I am fortunate to serve on the Board of Trustees of the Battle of Plattsburgh Association and know how much time and effort Chris has devoted to this project. He has helped to secure funds and grants, and I'm proud to say that we recently signed a memorandum of understanding between the Battle of Plattsburgh Association and Park, and we are on our way in this great and important project. We thank you, Chris, for making us appreciate what we have here in our North Country. Now, why am I here? Some time ago, Pam DeMoore asked me to speak tonight. She said, Celine, you're a native here, and you've lived here for a long time. We'd like you to say a few words about places like the Dewey Tavern. I looked at her and said, but Pam, you don't think I was around that far back, do you? She never answered. Well, I wasn't around when the Dewey Tavern was in operation, but I can tell you about another place that I know quite well. Many of you know the stone farmhouse where I grew up on Prospect Street. It's the oldest house in Champlain. It was built by Pliny Moore in 1808. He left the house to his daughter Matilda, who had married Loring Hubble. During the war activities of 1814, The British Army under Sir George Prevost, and there were 14,000 soldiers with him, occupied this area known as the campground. Before that, in 1812, General Dearborn camped there. And in March 1814, another American general, Wilkinson, and 4,000 soldiers were stationed there. Today, there is a historical marker across the road from the stone house, which mentions the campground and the British using the house as a commissary. I want Pam to understand, however, that I was not there to dine with British officers during that time. Now, maybe George Rivers was there, or John Zerlo, but I wasn't. Another place that is familiar to all of you is the Dewey Tavern on the corner of Prospect Hill Road and 276. So it's not too far a stretch, from the old farm stone house up to Dewey Tavern. This was one great big farm area. This old building figured largely in the War of 1812. The campground that I mentioned before could have been part of the Dewey farm also. The building had 15 rooms. Each room had a fireplace. Near the fireplace hung a warming pan with which guests could warm the bed on cold winter nights. It was a favorite stopping place for those who traveled the North Country. After the Battle of Plattsburgh, some of the wounded were left at the tavern by the retreating British. As the wounded died, they were buried in the family cemetery. No trace of this private cemetery remains. Probably the most significant activities at the tavern were the war conferences in May and in July 1814, when the British Adjutant General negotiated with American officials 2 agreements for the exchange of prisoners of war. Another place which seemed to be central headquarters in Champlain during the war years was Pliny Moore's home, now the Clark Funeral Home on the corner of Elm and Oak Streets. The original house burnt in 1912, but was rebuilt with the same plans as the original home. Pliny Moore's diary contains numerous references to training and trooping during this period. His home, being the largest in the community, was used by both American and British officers as their headquarters. His diaries list all the officers who were in his house at one time or another. And this evening, I just found out, we have some descendants of Pliny Moore here in the audience. I believe Dr. John Tanner and David Patrick and his parents. His mother's a descendant of Malcolm McClellan. Oh, welcome. Nice to have you here. Pliny Moore established the town of Champlain in 1788. He was its most prominent citizen and easily communicated with presidents, governors, generals, fur traders. In short, everybody that did any kind of business in the North Country. He left a tremendous amount of letters and diaries. One of his descendants, David, shared with me a letter that Pliny wrote to his wife. She had been sent to Peru before the attack on Plattsburgh. They felt it was safer there than staying in Champlain. He wrote this letter on September 14th, 3 days after the attack. I'll just read you a little snippet of the letter. The British yet keep possession of Champlain. How long they intend, it is not known to me. We have suffered considerably. All our apples, much of our hay, and fences are destroyed. All our cows and 3 heifers have been taken. You had better remain where you are until we see what course the British Army will take. The Indians are here and are continually committing depredations, even as far as Kings in the Bay. So now you know where Kings Bay comes from. And out to Dudley's, and they steal more or less every day in the village. He goes on to mention that none of the British soldiers have quartered at our house as they retreated, except a commissary who occupies the stone house, which I mentioned earlier, as a store. He goes on about the victory, and on the 15th, which is now 4 days after the attack, he continues the letter saying that he only found one of his cows, and I hope the Indians will leave today. So the inhabitants of this area Not only did they have to contend with the retreating British who took their horses and their cattle and raided their gardens and their orchards, but the Indians brought great fear to the community on a daily basis. Judge Pliny Moore made a bequest in his will to erect a church, quote, where the artillery were encamped, and that would be the campground at the stone house. However, that didn't quite happen. The church was built on the corner of Oak and Chestnut Streets, where Jane LaPlante and her brother Kurt Kaufman live today. The lake had its share of activities also. Not only did Rouses Point have a ringside seat to the naval activities, there was another major occupation in the Champlain Valley. During the early 1800s, a trade embargo existed. So we now have smuggling as a big-time activity. Trade with Canada was crucial to the Champlain Valley, and most of this trade was on the lake. So Peter Saley, and you know that name, Saley Avenue in Plattsburgh, and his home recently was willed to the Clinton County Historical Association. Peter Saley was appointed Collector of Customs and established his main station in Rouses Point. He maintained 22 inspectors, almost the same number they had today. Ezra Thurber was one of the inspectors. There's a house on Lake Street, as you know, known as the Thurber House. Well, here we are, 188 years later. We also commemorate this week another attack on the U.S. Same day, September 11th, and almost the same time. I am confident that with our renewed patriotism, pride, and courage, that we will be able to say, as Commodore McDonough wrote so eloquently to the Secretary of the Navy, the Almighty has been pleased to grant us a signal victory on Lake Champlain. We are grateful to live in this unique area on Lake Champlain, which is as lovely today as it was in 1609 when Samuel de Champlain first laid his eyes on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Celine. At this point in time, I'm going to turn the evening back over to our host.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we will delight you with the sounds of the Wakeman family and dances by Step Lively. Big hand for the Wakeman family and Step Lively.
Our group, Step Lively, we have an English country dance and Saranac under the auspices of Hill and Hollow Music every other Friday, starting 2 weeks from now, and it goes pretty much all throughout the year until next spring. The first dance tonight, I would like to dedicate to the Duke of Kent, who was General Provost's predecessor here as Commander-in-Chief of British Forces in 1800. And so our first dance is called Duke of Kent's Waltz. This was a dance very likely they would have been doing here, have done here, and also in England at this time. So the dancers will take hands forward. And as we do in our bi-weekly dance, we're going to walk through the dance once to remind people of the steps, and I'll be calling the dance, almost like a square dance. It probably wasn't done that way before. So you can drop hands. The dance starts by doing star, take hands across, and star all the way around. And left hand's back. Dancing couple to two slow sachet steps down the middle. Come back, cast down. Two's lead up. You can partner your right hand and balance in. Back, and turn your partner under. With the left hand, balance in and under. The person on your oblique, give the right hand and turn that person all the way around. And your partner, your left hand, with all the way around. And get ready to star with the next group and the next couple. So, everybody come back to place, and we'll do Duke of Kent's waltz in honor of General Provost Prentice. Star, and left hand back. Dancing couple. Cast down, twos move up. Balance in. Right hand turn with the person on your right. And left hand with your partner. Star right. Cast down, left twos move up. Balance in. On the right. Person on the right hand. And your partner left hand. Get ready to start with the next couple. Left hand back. Dancing couple, 2 sachet steps. And cast down, twos move up. Balance in. And under. And left. Person on your right. Right hand turn, person on your right. Person across from you, left hand. Star. And left hand back. Dancing couple, 2 sachet steps. Cast, twos move up. Right hand. And your partner with the left. Now with people get in groups of 2 couples, 2 couples for Rusty Tufty. Set to your partner and turn single. Set to your partner again and turn single. Lead your partner away. Turn back and turn single. Lead the other person away. Back and turn single. Right shoulder siding with your partner. Left shoulder. Now lead your partner away. Now lead your partner away. And then again. single. Lead your neighbor away. Back in. And turn single. Right arm in with your partner. Left arm in. Set to your partner. And turn single. Set to your partner again. And turn single. Lead your partner away. Back in. And turn single. Lead the other person away. Back in. And turn single. Get ready to lean forward a double. Lean forward and turn and back. Again. Set to your partner and turn single. Set to your partner again and turn single. Lead your partner away. Again and turn single. Lead your neighbor away. Lead the other person away. Back in and turn single. Right shoulder with your partner. And left. Set to your partner and turn single. Set and turn single. Lead your partner away. And back in and turn single. Lead your neighbor away. Back in and turn single. Right arm in with your partner. Left arm in. Set to your partner and turn single. And again. Lead your partner away. And back in. And turn single. Lead your neighbor away. Back in. And turn single. We're going to sit down now for give the space to somebody else who will be doing a couple dances later, and then we're going to ask our dancers to invite people around the tables to join us in some easy dances. So don't run away.
Yes, one more applause for Steph Lively and the Lincoln family. I'd like to try to reset the mood here if I could, and let you know what kind of dinner we're having here. This is a British invasion dinner, so I am treating you all as British sailors and soldiers. I have a play for you now. It seems like if we're coming here to celebrate the British and Canadians, that we should spend some time celebrating their exploits in the war so far, this war that the Americans call the War of 1812. Therefore, to help honor you, the sailors and soldiers of the British and Canadian Army, I would like to extol the virtues of what you've done so far in the war, and I've been fortunate enough to procure the services of a talented group of performers called the Do-It-Yourself History Players. Yay! Here they come now. They're just bringing in the boats now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will be performing a play for you, a nearly factual historical drama that will tell you all about the war so far and explain for you the roots of the war that the Americans call the War of 1812. But we are the do-it-yourself history players, which means that we don't actually do the performing. Yes, this is an audience participation play. We will not be doing the acting, we'll be doing the narrating and the prop managing and the extras. We will look to you, the audience, to supply all of the roles in this play. Don't all raise your hands at once here. We're going to need about 15 volunteers to help us perform this play. You've been sitting for a while, right? I think a lot of you are going to want to get up and help us out here. So I'm going to just get my scripts here, and I'm going to need a few people to help us out. If we don't get any volunteers, then we won't be able to do the play. So who would like to volunteer to help us out? Apparently everyone thinks that you would make a lovely King George. You just take your name tag, sir, and just step over here through this curtain. They will give you your costumes and your scripts. Come this way, sir. Thank you very much for volunteering, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to need some assistance here. Is there anyone here who feels that they could do an adequate French accent? I would settle for a Canadian who snuck across the border. Anybody at all who thinks they could do an adequate French accent? I'm just going to start picking people at random if someone doesn't raise their hand here. This young lady does, right here. You think you can do that, man? He's making you, all right. There you go, you're Napoleon. If you just step through that white curtain over there, that would be great. Napoleon Bonaparte. Now we need an American politician, so all you have to do is be able to speak. Any American politicians out there? American politicians? I would hate to show any favoritism to anybody who happens to be running right now, so I will neglect the fact that there are American politicians here and pick anybody else. But how about Mr. Kent Booth, who is the chairman of the Battle of Plattsburgh celebration committee? Kent, if you just go through the curtain over there. Yeah, you're James Madison. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, only 14 parts to go. Work with me here, people. How about the hero of the Americans? Of course, since we're British, we don't really like him very much. Okay, then. How about
Frank Shambo.
Frank Shambo? Well, no, he's too much of an insider in this. Sir, because you're almost dressed already, why don't you head on over there and get costume down? Thank you very much for volunteering also. And this gentleman here will be Mr. Peter Saley. There you go. That's your gift for dressing up. Okay. Oh, we need a good authoritative general kind of person here. Gosh, this is fun. This gentleman right here, they say he's great. All right, man, you should know. Go ahead, sir. Head on over there. Right through that curtain, and you will be putting a costume. He's going to need, this American general is going to need a couple lackeys. They don't have to be particularly intelligent or brave. So if you could just raise your hand if you qualify in that way. Oh my gosh. Come on, people. Let's go. A couple soldiers. Let's see. Here's a couple soldiers right here. There you go. Your lackey soldiers, whatever. Follow that gentleman through there, if you would. Okay, and now we need a few sailors, a couple sailors. Who would like to be a sailor? Raise your hand if you're awake. Oh, sir, come on down here. You can be a sailor over here. Oh no, we have a ship over here. Come this way, sir. Yeah. Actually, you know what? You can just sit there. I'll tell you what you do, sir. You just sit there, and when I say, boy, we need some sailors, you come running up. You are General Sidney Smith. Commodore Sidney Smith. There you go. That's your part. And now, we need anybody else. Okay, there we go. All right, when I call for sailors, you run right up there, and you jump in. Now we're going to need a couple more sailors on the other end, and we are almost ready to start the show. So, boy, this is a big hot drink. Now, okay, here's another sailor and another sailor there. There you go, sir. Now, when I call you, you'll have to come up. By the way, if you have a little free time, I would familiarize myself with how the cannons operate. Okay? Same thing for the sailors over there. You probably will figure out how the cannons operate. Okay. Only a couple more things to do. This area right here will be the Lacombe Blockhouse. And this gentleman here, you are a Canadian soldier, and you, sir, are a Kanawha Indian. Okay, we need our Indian costumes down here. Could you get the Indian and the sailor Indian costume? You haven't had enough history yet tonight, have you? I didn't think so. So here we go. Almost ready. You guys let me know when you're ready, okay? Now, everybody who has volunteered so far is off the hook. The rest of you are not. You see, because as we go through this play, we're going to need appropriate sound effects. So I'd just like to coach you a little bit. Everybody from this table, see this woman in the orange sweater? Everybody over here, your job is to make the noise of cannons. When I point to you, you make the noise of cannons, and it will sound like... Work with me here, man. Cannon, man. So, ma'am, would you help her out? You don't want to... Okay, great. Okay, a bunch of peace lovers at that table. Sir, a cannon noise. Boom! And you all do that. Let's practice. Ready? 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay. Now, over here. Of course, during the battle, there was all kinds of people getting shot and killed and things like that. It can be very painful. Sir, what would you say if someone just shot your leg off with a cannonball? Ouch. Ouch. That's really good. And you, sir, a cannonball just killed the man next to you. Ouch. Okay. Strange. Sympathetic pain. All right. So all of you guys here, You are the dead and dying sailors. You can do whatever you think is appropriate to portray the fact that you just got injured. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Come on with feeling, people. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm not convinced. Now you folks get to make the noise of muskets. Ma'am, make the musket noise. He doesn't know. Wait, I can solve that. Hang on, where's my musket? Hold on a second. I've got an idea. So that you guys know what noise to make, I thought I'd shoot off this replica round-ass musket from the 1812 time frame. So it's over here. Over here, you get to hold the microphone while I do the shooting, okay? Just hold it near me. Hold it near me in case I think of something intelligent to say while I'm loading this gun. Ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of loud, but I thought it might set the mood, wake you all up, so I'm going to shoot this gun right now. So if you don't like loud noises, put your fingers in your ears. What? Now this is a replica musket that would have been around in 1812. I'll just give you a quick rundown on how these things work. Remember, you're trying to figure out what noise to make here. First thing you do is you pull the pan back, open it up, pull the top back, I think it's called that. Pour a little bit of powder into this pan. Then, you bring the pan forward, and you pour the rest of the black powder into the muzzle of the gun. So if there was going to be an actual ball shot here, you would then ram the ball down there. But we aren't going to do that, we're just going to make a lot of noise. So theoretically, when I aim this gun, the flint will come forward, make a spark, and you should get the spark traveling through the gun into the barrel, igniting all of the powder that is inside the barrel. Any questions? Okay. Get ready. Put your fingers in your ears. Make ready. Aim. Fire. Pretty impressive, huh? You have to see that again. Because I can do it again. No problems. Ready. Aim. Fire. Okay. Of course, we'd all be dead by now. We're just tapping this way. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Craig Russell is an expert on this, and he's in the audience right now, and I've just done this to show you how not to do it. Guess I put powder in the pan. Craig Russell, where are you? Come on, Craig. I'll just try it one more time. Everybody plays with me. 1, 2, 3. Never mind, Craig. All right. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is your noise. So when I turn to you, you make that noise. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. Well done. How are we doing that, Craig? All right. Our cast, Phyllis, are you ready? Oh, don't worry about sailors, they'll figure it out. Come on over, let's go ahead. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the cast has now been prepared. I present you the do-it-yourself history players. That would be a good time to applaud. The do-it-yourself history players. Yay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the do-it-yourself history players featuring Susan Britton as Napoleon. Excuse me, I can't make the right. Mayor Roberts as King George III. Kit Booth as James Madison. Bruce Collins as Lieutenant Thomas MacDonough. Conrad Becker as General Dearborn. Alana Wood as Louise Turner as American soldiers. Tim Parkovic as Peter Saley. Chris Booth as a Canadian militiaman. And Harry Hackett as a Kanawagit Indian. And we have Stephen Gratto as an American farmer and Skylar Gratto as the bugle boy. We proudly present Britain's Glory, America's Folly. As you know, the British Empire is the envy of all other nations. No other country can claim the glorious history that belongs to Britain, and to His Royal Highness King George III. Despite our obvious military strength, there was one man who did pose a threat to the empire. Napoleon Bonaparte.
Bonjour, je suis Napoleon. Bonaparte is the greatest general in the history of France. Harry is my mistress. I am smart like fox and strong like bull. All of Europe will be mine.
Listen out, little cat. May I point out one small problem?
Apparently the king is from Arkansas.
Hey, what is the problem, monsieur?
Awful sorry, my good man, but as king of England, I must defend my country, honor and foil your evil plan.
Sacre bleu! I spit on your honor!
Sir, it is war you seek, it is war you shall have. Prepare to defend yourself.
Thus began the Napoleonic Wars between France and Britain. One would have thought that our former colony, America, would have joined the fight against that rogue Napoleon, but they did the opposite.
What is it, my man? Can't you see I'm busy?
I'm very cross with you, King George. I'm James Madison, President of the United States, and your Royal Navy has been attacking our ships on the open sea, and they've been stealing our supplies and kidnapping our sailors.
Yes, that's beastly bad luck for you Americans, of course. But we do need those men and supplies to fight Napoleon. We would have rather hoped that you colonials would have jumped in and helped us out. Now run along, laddie. I'm rather busy.
Sorry, King George, Europe is not our problem. Since you won't promise to be nice to us and leave us no choice, on this day, June 12, 1812, America declares war on Great Britain.
I gotta fight through. All right, back on your boxes.
When you guys fight, you should have got rid of the when you guys fight, don't shoot each other and call them. That's what happened in the battle was they shot each other.
You're taking offense to my little game. We Frenchmen love our English brothers. We meant no harm.
Any military person who has looked at the map of Canada and America can easily see that Lake Champlain, Lake George, and the Hudson River provide a natural route for invading forces. Therefore, it was no surprise that one of America's first attempts to take Canada occurred in this area.
The best, General Dearborn. General Dearborn. Hurry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I'll go back to this one, right? What happened to the other one? I don't know. Assemble an army of 5,000 troops in Champlain-Rouses Point. From there, march up the Richelieu River and take over Montreal. You should experience little resistance since the Canadians will be grateful to you for liberating them from the British.
On November 20th, 1812, an advance party of Americans marched 5 miles north of the border to a blockhouse in Lacolle, Quebec. The blockhouse was defended by 300 Canadian militiamen and Caughnawaga Indians.
You in the blockhouse, throw down your weapons and surrender. We have come to liberate you.
Hey, what did you say?
Surrender your weapons. We have come to liberate you.
Sacre bleu! Go away, you silly Americans. We don't want to be liberated.
Surrender the blockhouse or we will be forced to attack.
I don't want to talk to you no more, you empty-headed president lovers. Go away now, or we will tell the British that you are bothering us.
start. We will surrender the blockhouse and attack before daybreak. You cover the right flank and cover the left. Make ready. Make ready. Take aim. Fire.
Musket fire! Musket fire!
In the pre-dawn darkness, two American detachments accidentally fired upon each other for about 30 minutes, resulting in 2 deaths, 13 wounded, and 5 missing.
Ready. All troops fall back to Rouses Point.
You can wait for a minute and run back if you'd like. You can retreat. Go ahead. You're all better now.
The attack on Canada ended before it even started.
Our army has not been very successful in its attempts to invade Canada. It doesn't really matter though. If we can just keep control of Lake Champlain, we can keep the British from attacking us. If we can keep them bottled up in Canada and keep them from receiving any supplies, we can starve them out.
Madison appointed Lieutenant Thomas McDonough to assume command of the 3 ships comprising the American Navy on Lake Champlain. He also appointed Peter Staley as a collector of customs in Champlain, New York. It was Staley's job to make sure that the American-made goods were not smuggled across the border to supply the Canadian and British armies.
Look at that poor farmer over there. Oh. I don't have the script. Oh. And I can't see without my glasses. Oh, there. I am Peter Saley, collector of customs. Lake Champlain runs about 100 miles north from Whitehall to the border in Rouses Point. A great deal of business has been conducted north and south over the years, and a great many people in this country, especially New Englanders, have mixed feelings about the war. Although they don't like the British, the Champlain does like to make money, and much of the money is made sending goods north to Canada and goods south into New England. So smuggling of everything from lumber to cattle takes place on a regular basis. And it is my job as the customs collector to stop this illegal business.
Eventually, the smuggling problem got so bad that British gunboats were making a habit of crossing the border and either trading with the Americans or harassing American boats on the lake. Peter Saley asked Thomas McDonough to send ships to Champlain to solve the problem.
I think we're going to need our sailors now. Sailors, you can call back to duty, jump in your boats. Let's go. Come on, sailors, get in your boats. Quick, they need you to stop the smuggling. I don't know if everybody recognized the fact that we were smuggling there. Sorry, it's easy. Jump right in. There you go. Let the girl in the minister in the back, and you can step in the back. There you go. Hey, Captain Smith, well done. Don't break your gun. Okay, McDonough, you're still. McDonough, you're doing a fine job. However, they're coming to you, so come back over here. And now, if the ships would sail up a little bit closer to McDonough so he can speak to you and get your orders. Ships, come closer. Well done. Okay.
Captain Smith, Captain Loomis, your orders are to proceed with your ships to the border for the purpose of preventing the enemy's gunboats from harassing American ships at the end of the lake. Confine the British to their own waters. Under no circumstances will you cross the borderline and let the enemy lead you into a trap.
Growler and Eagle, 2 of the 3 ships in the American fleet, approached the border on June 2nd, 1813. They were just in time to chase 3 small British gunboats back across the border and into the Richelieu River. It was then that Lieutenant Sidney Smith fell into the British trap.
Follow those gunboats, lads! We can catch them before they reach the island! Growler and Eagle approached the borderline, which is this line right down the middle here. Very good. You crossed the borderline. That's great. Very good. Good job. And pursued the British ships 6 miles down the river. When the British gunboats got close to the island of Illinois, the island in the middle of the Richelieu River, that's good. You're close enough. They realized too late that they had fallen into a trap. All along the riverbanks, British troops, artillery, infantry, and militia began firing on the retreating Americans. And the cannons roared! And the cannon sailors groaned and screamed! And the muskets, where's our cannons? Shoot the cannons, the muskets! All along the riverbank, shots were fired. The American ships returned fire with admirable efficiency. Where are our cannons? Come on, sir, shoot that cannon. Oh, nice shot. Okay. With admirable efficiency. The battle raged for 5 hours. But finally, a 24-pound cannonball smashed through the starboard side of Eagle. Cannons roar! Cannons! Bloody sailors! Muskets! Eagle suffered a blow, and they all sank. And they abandoned ship, and they were captured immediately. That's very prison. Sarah, jump over, quick. It's going down. It's going down. Excellent. But Growler did not give up. Not you haven't been something to get back in there. But Growler continued to fire. The cannons roared. The dead and dying sailors. And the muskets. But it was to no avail. Another 15 minutes went by, and finally Growler surrendered as well. He may get out and be captured. And that little battle was over. Both ships were captured.
Both of these ships were taken to the island for repair. Growler was renamed Finch and Eagle was renamed Chug. Just 2 months later, these ships were used to launch an invasion up the lake. Villages such as Shazy Landing, Plattsburgh, Point-a-Rush, Champlain, Burlington, Shelburne, and Swanton were attacked. Supplies and ships were commandeered, and the American military establishments were burned.
In real life, these 2 ships now are waiting at Islamont with the rest of the British fleet. They will help us in our upcoming battle for Navy superiority on Lake Champlain. More good fortune for our cause occurred in April of 1814.
Go fight each other. Fight each other. And Napoleon is defeated. Stop.
Oh, mon ami, you have taken offense to my little game. We Frenchmen love our English brothers. We meant no harm.
Come along, you cheeky monkey. Guard. That's how I'll never bother us.
I'll be back.
The defeat of Napoleon freed up 15,000 experienced troops to participate in the war in America, many of whom are seated in this room tonight.
I say, with Napoleon gone for good, it's high time that we put an end to this nasty business in America. Our fleet on Lake Champlain has been strengthened, and we have far more troops than the enemy. Victory is certain. I order my troops to attack.
Yes, and that is where we are now. We have troops straight from France in the battle, and we have a strong navy, and we are about to attack Plattsburgh. Victory is certain. 3 cheers for our sailors and soldiers. Hip hip! Hip hip! Hip hip! Hooray! And now, if all of my volunteers would come out for a quick bow. Volunteers, come on out here, quickly. Excellent. Line up right there, Mr. Sailor. Excellent. Okay, ready? Here, come on, Napoleon. We can't do without you. Okay, take a big bow to the front. And turn around to the other side. Great. And now introduce yourself, history players. Come on out for a final bow.
And that concludes, oh yeah, right, sorry. And that concludes our play, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated, folks. Thank you very much. At this point, the official parts of the ceremony are over. We do thank you for coming tonight. We do not want you to leave now. We want to let you know that the Wakeman family will be playing again, and the Step Lively will be stepping lively around all of these cannonballs very soon and doing some more dancing for you. And when they've done a couple of dances, they're going to invite the entire crowd to come up and dance with them. So if you'd like to stay, we strongly encourage that. There'll be lots more dancing and music until about 11 o'clock, I understand. So thank you very much for coming. And now, let's welcome back the Wakeman Family Band and Step Lively. Yay.
We'll dance over here. Start your set.